One. Good afternoon, everybody. It is March 23rd. I think we're on this like 36th edition of this Around the Sailing World thing. So we're getting old in the tooth, I guess, when it comes to it. But anyway, I hope everybody has been well. I think we missed each other last week, but a lot has happened, I guess, since then. But I've since returned from San Diego for our first of the Helly Hansen Nude Regatta, which was nice. The enthusiasm was super high out in California. You think that, I think every year we always think, the San Diegans, they kind of like pretty blasé about the whole thing. But I think for the first time in a long time, they were generally psyched to have to go sailing, go racing, right, Chris? It was sort of like, wow, they actually were excited.
Absolutely.
But
get people back out on the water.
Yeah, 104 boats, I guess, final number. But the classic one design fleets out there seems to be the Essex is the most cutthroat in Southern California at the moment, with some seriously talented teams out there. And at a North Sails double-handed distance race, which was basically a long day out and around, and they finished just before sunset, which was pretty cool. So good variety. Hey, why don't I tee up let's see if I can share a video. This was, we did not bring a videographer, so I did my best Gary Jobson and slapped together a daily highlight reel. So this was on the South Bay on Friday. And these, I'll tell you, the kids, the 29 program has definitely been highly elevated there, right, Chris? It seems like there's an effort to just step up the game there, and the kids were seriously having some serious fun. So anyway, here's a sort of a taste of the South Bay. It was fun.
Friday fun day.
Just felt good to be out, Jeff Johnson keep calling it the Chamber of Commerce conditions. This is why you go sail in San Diego in March.
Nice straight horizon.
Good F-18 fleet. We have Pete Melvin actually sailing with his son in a brand new boat that he designed, and those guys are always fun to watch. And the Vipers were doing their normal thing. Look at that, speed up the tacks there, Gary.
So is this right on the bay there, or is this kind of way down the harbor a ways?
This is pretty far down South Bay. Chris can give us a better location, just past the bridge. They were set up pretty deep down there.
Yeah, South Bay off the Navy base, Gary.
Yeah, that's a good place. But we had the
really good
there last year. Good breeze.
Great
no
breeze.
kelp.
No kelp.
Yeah.
Right.
San Diego.
The F-18s definitely make you want to jump into catamarans. I'll just say that, though. Like to have fun. Good variety of people,
Your video looks good, Dave.
There's Mr. Melvin going around, his son.
Nice.
There you go. So there was San Diego. That was the Friday.
Well done. Well done.
So that was it. So we had our overall winner. As you know, we select one winner from every basically, if you win your class, you're eligible to throw your hat in, or your name into the hat, and you get picked to go to the Caribbean Championship in October. So we've got Argyle Campbell and his cast of youngins. See if they go to the BVI, see if they can make a charter boat go as fast as they can in Etchells. But that's serious. The Etchells class was amazing to watch. Chris, did you get out a couple days? Chris, can we hear you?
J70 Regatta.
Okay, you're out of town. All right. Anyway, so Ed, what have you been up to? I hear I read somewhere that you were inducted into the American Sub Hall of Fame finally at some point over the weekend. Was that yesterday or the day before?
Actually, I guess on East Coast time, it was last Thursday, but really amazing experience. I mean, I couldn't be in Auckland, but I've gotten so many wonderful pictures and images from the people that were there. Really fun to see that the party was great. And Gary made an incredible video that celebrated, myself, the sailing that I've done over the years. And I really appreciate that. And, it's just a really special experience. I just wish my wife and I could have been there. It was, it was one of those magical moments that we just had to share virtually because of the travel restrictions.
Yeah. So they said any cash prize, cash bonus, anything of like a big fancy watch or anything?
Well, I think Brad Butterworth was kind enough to introduce me for the evening, and I think he may have gotten the bottle of champagne that came with the, the award. But no, it's just it's a wonderful recognition just to be part of that group. It's such an amazing group of people, and it's really a privilege. So
I think one of the cool things, Dave, Ed, is the fact that PJ Montgomery, the great commentator from New Zealand, was inducted at the same time. So, having Ed Baird and PJ Montgomery together was a really good selection. So well done, Ed. And I think PJ is more than deserving of the honor as well.
Well, thank you, Gary. And it's funny because you're there with Roger Vaughan. You guys have you're sitting close together because you've both been vaccinated and you're feeling good. But it just reminds me the time that Pete Montgomery and I sat together on the North Star, Terry Kohler's boat, as we followed the America's Cup races and did the commentary. So it's exactly the scene, and it's a real special privilege to be inducted at the same time with my partner, who allowed me to tag along and on his coattails for that whole America's Cup. Very cool.
But Roger, you're the historian of this whole thing now, and now that the great Bob Fisher has passed away, does the mantle get kind of passed to you to take it from here?
Boy, I don't know. I don't know what I would do with Fisher's legacy.
Well,
the glass and you clink some ice around,
Yeah. In the recent issue of Sailing World, Roger had a great excerpt of his new book on the 2010 Cup. And it's such a readable story about the technology behind that. And the whole thing was on how they made this boat go fast. So anyway, I've read the book 3 times now. And Roger, thanks for asking me to write the forward. That was kind of cool. But it's a great read. It's a relatively short book. And I think people that read it, once they start reading, you won't stop. So get yourself 4 hours or something to read the whole story, but it's really well done, Raj.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So where remind me again where people can go find that, or those viewers here who
it's on Amazon as both an ebook for Kindle or a print on demand paperback.
Okay.
So Amazon. I don't have the link in my head, but it's Amazon Books, and you'll find it pretty easily. It's called Learning to Fly.
Okay. Excellent.
I will second Gary's comment. It's a great read. It's really, really fun reading.
Oh,
highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. It was good fun to write it. It was written in a hurry back then, and I decided not to change it at all because I thought it should reflect the time when it was written. But it's really an amazing story. I'm glad it's out because it's such a missing piece of Cup history. And it sort of fills you in and lets you know how we've arrived at where we are with the foiling boats.
Like my one question I remember back in the time, I kept saying, why is nobody writing a book about this whole thing? And how come it took so long? Or were you under non-disclosures that finally expired, or what held it back?
Well, Gilles Martin Roger took the photographs, which are fantastic. Gilles is really good.
Yeah.
And we heard that it was being laid out and it was all set to go, and then we heard nothing. And I talked to Gilles about it. He never heard anything either. So it wasn't just me. And many emails, what's happening, never a response, and it just sort of died. So I took the initiative to revive it 10 years later.
Wow.
And I'm glad I did.
Yeah. Well, good. So I imagine there could be another potential part 2 of that book. No, is there sort of more to be told, or you feel like you covered everything?
No, there's no more. I don't think there's any more to be told about 2010. I think it's this is the story.
You know what I really liked about the book, Raj, is you had a little passing reference to all the court cases, but really it was a technology and how these sailors created this unbelievable machine that intrigued me far more than the
Yeah, well,
legal battles that went on.
I think the legal battles, maybe that was one reason they decided not to publish the book, because the legal battles didn't do the cup any good.
Mhm.
That's for sure. And they went on for 2 years, and the amount of money spent was insane. But the legal battles in the book are just a sort of a timeline, but the real story are the designers, the builders, and the sailors, and between those three groups, it was basically a mission impossible. And you look back on it, and I think the key thing to know is that those boats only made it around the America's Cup course twice without breaking, and those were the 2 races they actually sailed.
Mm. Yeah,
Every other time they went around the America's Cup course as a trial idea, they broke.
Mm.
But the two America's Cup races, the official races, they made it. It's
a good
amazing.
thing they did.
It's quite
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, it is a good thing they did.
Does anybody recall, were there upper wind limits back in the day? I mean, there was all, what if it had reached the extreme upper
Yeah,
limits,
It would have been very scary.
There was not, but I think Ernesto Bertorelli was hoping that a big wind would come in and the boat would break. And Oracle sat on a mooring with the wing up the whole time. They were afraid to take it all down.
Yeah.
And of course, there were weather delays, but they got the 2 races in pretty much in light air, and that was the end of it.
Mhm.
Well, the thing about being on the mooring was interesting because with a 235-foot mast and a sail, a wing sail, as Ellison put it one day, he said, you can't, this boat, there's no way for it to head into the wind because the wind direction changes every 50 or 75 feet.
Yeah.
So you really couldn't get it into the wind. It was quite a lot to deal with. It took them
Full-time
8
babysitter,
hours.
Yeah.
The first time they put the mast up, the sail up, the wing, took them 8 hours.
Mm.
Hey, I have a quick question for Chris. Nevin, any update? Are they going to be able to get a slot into the Olympic Games? I believe they were one out of it or on the wait list, but just one out of getting a slot. Do you know where the update is on that?
Well, the U.S. in the 49er is the first alternate, or they have, if a country elects not to take their spot, the U.S. is in. So right now there's a regatta going on in Lanzarote in the Canary Islands, which I think is the final Olympic country qualifier. It's both the final European qualifier and the qualifier for the African continent. And so I think after this regatta is over, we may have some more clarity, but Nevin's kind of resigned to the fact that he may not know till May if the US is in or not, because I think that's the deadline that countries have to declare whether they're going to the games or not.
Well, even if, Chris, even if he has to wait till May, a long time from now, I assume that he will go, that he and the crew will go.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. I mean, they're just going to keep charging along until they hear one way or the other.
Mm.
That's basically their plan. They're trying to stay in Europe after this regatta. Actually, they're going to stay for a couple of weeks after this regatta to train, and the whole 49er, worldwide fleet is there right now, because I guess it's the one place that's relatively safe, vis-a-vis COVID. So, but there was the Air Week has been canceled. All the kind of scheduled events have been either postponed or canceled, other than this event in Lanzarote.
Well, it was pretty exciting in the women's 470 2 weeks ago now, a week and a half ago, where Nikki Barnes made it in, and but a great regatta with the Cow sisters, who I'm sure we'll be seeing in the future. So that I'm glad they got that regatta in, and they resolved it on the water, and I think Nikki Barnes will maybe surprise us over there in Tokyo.
I think you might be right. In 2000, I was listening to something yesterday. 2019, she finished 31st in the 470 Worlds, and this last week she finished 7th. So that's quite a progression.
And I should add, not to dominate this here, she finished 7th, having to concentrate on beating 2 other American boats the whole time.
Right.
So maybe she compromised a position or two. You know, what are you going to do? Try to go for first and leave the other Americans behind? No, you're going to cover them.
Good
So-
point. Good point.
Well, I think she's back, and I don't know where her crew Laura will be, but anyway, so maybe we'll try to get Nikki on next week. I think she's back at the VEIs, and
That'd be great.
relaxes up. Yeah, we'll see what she.
Apparently, she is the first U.S. Coast Guard officer to qualify for the Olympics in any sport
Wow.
ever,
Wow.
which is I'm sure the Coast Guard's quite proud of that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then get back to work when you're done playing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, I just to take that a little further, the former superintendent of the Coast Guard Academy, Sandy Stowe, who was a 3-star admiral, she was on the sailing team at the Coast Guard Academy all 8 semesters. She was there, and I think she had a lot to do with getting Nikki the permission and time to go train and do this. And Sandy has a book coming out in a month or so, and it's breaking ice, because she was a commander of a icebreaker at one point, and breaking ice and breaking ceilings. She made 3-star admiral, so kind of a good story for a sailor. So it was helped to have an insider make that happen for the Coast Guard officer.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's see. I did want to see if I could switch topics here. See if I can do this right. All right. Let's go back to this for a second. See these guys here? Which is amazing, because the guy in the middle, Birdie, I ended up sailing with when they came to Newport to do the Invitational Cup. I don't know if you remember, a couple years ago, Gary.
Yep.
They needed a local guy, and I jumped on the boat, and that was funny. Who knew that a couple years later they would be challenging for this bad boy? So, Ed, since you are now anointed as the Hall of Famer, I'm going to task you to go through these first couple points here and share your thoughts. And the first one seems to be the sticky point about this 2-year cycle and as a requirement of entry. What say you this group of experts on America's Cup?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're trying to make sure that this class has a little bit of longevity, and that they can make sure that, in order to come in, you have to commit to the class remaining the same class for the next cup. But then on the other side of it, they're just really having a 2-team event. So I don't really get why they even put that in there. They could just agree between themselves. But it just shows that they're going to keep going with this class, so that the teams that have them already are at least encouraged to keep moving forward.
Yeah. Can you explain this 2-boat event thing? It's not clear to me. I mean, it says the others are welcome, but what is going on here? I don't understand.
Yeah, and maybe Gary knows more about this, but it's not clear to me either. When I first read it and I first thought about it, it just seemed like it was only going to be Ineos against Team New Zealand in around up in the Isle of Wight area. But then there's other people discussing the fact that they can be part of it as well. It's a little bit unclear, and I don't know, Gary, have you got a better clarity on that?
No, I'm scratching my head as well, but it makes you wonder, American Magic, do they keep their operation up and running and go enter that regatta and see if they can improve, or where the boat is? I don't know. Initially they were just going to do the regatta in 2024, 3 years out, which is kind of what we've been seeing since 1958. We've had 20 America's Cups since that time, 63 years, 20 America's Cups. So it's about every 3-year average. But to do one in so quickly, it's going to be hard for any other team to be there other than the Italians or American Magic, unless somebody buys their equipment and boat.
Yeah.
So it seems to me, does it make sense though to say, well, everyone can build one boat, but if, again, it's sort of, you have these now used boats available to starter teams to get in on cycle 1 with the 75 and use that as a platform for next time around. Seems like a long time with the 75s, but could that be kind of where they're going, is to got to get some B-level teams in there and see where it goes?
Maybe. I mean, what would be cool to see these things in a fleet race. Every race we saw was a match race. I'd love to see all.
But Roger's not so sure about that.
Yeah, well, there was 8 of these things built, so let's see 6 or 8 of them on the starting line at the same time. You'd have to widen the boundary out a little bit.
Just a wee bit.
My God, what a sight that would be.
Well, I think the Solent may automatically widen that boundary to a limited amount.
Well, the current will be a factor. Boy, that
Yeah, imagine short tacking up the shore on the against the
Short
current
tack,
with those things. It'd be pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So can you see yourself staging a San Diego team, Chris? You've got plenty of talent out there. Could you pick up one of these B boats or one of these first generation boats and go for it?
Seems like there's plenty of sailors available, and it's just a matter of getting the funding together. And there's lots of biotech companies and technology people here. It's certainly conceivable.
Okay, well,
Well,
let us
there's
know how your campaign comes together.
there's sailors available, but are there grinders enough?
Right.
Yeah.
All right, next on this list, where we go back real quick. So, single event authority, that's pretty straightforward. Meaningful, the cost-cutting measures, good luck with that, right? And Gary, this is always your favorite, the crew nationality. Basically, you have been a national as of 3 days ago, or you're out of luck. So how complicated does that make it, Ed?
Yeah, that's very complicated. And I mean, the way I read it, and maybe I don't have it right, but the way I read it on the first blush was, there's an awful lot of talented people who are not going to be able to go sailing because they're not from the right country or they don't live there now. And what that does also is it puts a lot of pressure on the countries that are filled with really good people. It keeps them from having the opportunity once their home team is full, that they don't have an opportunity to go anywhere else. Yeah. So, that makes it a little tricky. And, certainly, there's arguments back and forth. I know, Gary's a big proponent of national teams, and I am too, to a certain extent, not to the point that you eliminate the ability for great people to go sailing in the America's Cup. One of the things that when I first started racing in Olympic programs, the U.S. had a really, really strong team throughout all the classes. And, when we would go to the Olympics, you'd often see the Americans, winning a gold or a silver medal, in the 70s and 80s. And, it was often heard that even the 3rd or 4th place team in the U.S. Olympic trials would have been able to get a gold or a silver medal. And, at some point, that's what you have here, where you can field a terrific team from a country, but if there's only one team from that country, but there's another 40 people from the country who are really talented and capable of doing this, you take away their opportunity to get involved. So that part of it remains to be seen whether it's good or bad.
A lot of details remain as well. And I guess that there's a clause there about emerging nations, Gary. Does that, what is there sort of an official world sailing qualification is that what they would refer to as an emerging nation?
Well, an emerging nation would be somebody that's never been involved in the America's Cup before, and they're starting from ground zero. So the thought is you would augment their team with people that have some experience to get them on the water. And clearly with these boats, there aren't that many people with experience. So the talent pool would not be very big, but you'd want to grab 1 or 2 or 3 people that have had some experience in these boats to help out somebody. I mean, it's pretty clear that the America's Cup needs more challengers, and we haven't seen any defenders ever since 2000. It's only been one defense team. And if you want to have more teams, they're going to have to make it cost less and be more available. That's why I say there's 8 of these boats have been built. there's 4 teams, 2 are signed on. Well, one of the other 2 teams come on, we don't know. And then how do you get into it starting from scratch? That would be the big trick, especially with so little time.
Is it your understanding Ed, that does that the does that requirement also apply to the design and technical team as well, or just the sailing team?
No, well, again, the way I read it was, you know, for the sailors on that side of things, but you know, it's certainly possible that they want to go further. You know, when we won the last cup that we did with Alinghi in 07, you know, it was really impressive that there were 21 different countries represented within the walls of the Alinghi team. And it's amazing to me how many people from those 21 countries I still see on a monthly basis, you know, at events around the world. And, you know, they're just the great people in the sport. And it would be a real shame to do anything to you know, to keep people who are capable, to keep them out of the event just because they don't happen to have a passport from the place that, you know, wants to utilize them. So, you know, that part of it is hard. It's hard to get that right. You want the national team feel because it gives you an automatic fan base, and it makes people, you know, really excited to do it for their country. But at the same time, you know, there's some downsides. So we just have to be careful and be wise about how we approach it.
So you got 11 guys on the boat. You really need what, 8, 7 good native sailors.
Well, both, you know, Italy had all but Spithill. I think they had 10, maybe 9, but nationals from Italy. And the Kiwis, they had Ashby from Australia, but they were all New Zealanders. So interestingly, in the 2 finalists this time, they were pretty much national crews.
Right.
Yep. So
And that's
And
great.
they had a lot of fan interest in both Italy and New Zealand. There, they had big television ratings. So
yeah.
What about design? Were the design teams national also?
doesn't say. I
No,
think it's wide open.
they were not. Yeah. And, you know, as you say, Gary, I mean, you think about those 2 teams with New Zealand and Italy, and they've got a substantially, if not all of their people are, you know, from the country. But what about the rest of the people in the country who are right at that level or just about there? You know, how do they get involved if they can't be on this team? I mean, I'm experiencing this right now. I had a conversation with my son on Sunday as we drove back from sailing J70s together. And he said, Dad, how do I get on the bigger boats? How do I get on, you know, a big team that is, you know, something that can take my steps forward? And, you know, it's a hard thing to answer because there's limited opportunity, and, you know, we just don't want to limit it more.
yeah, yeah. So
Are you talking about Nick?
Well, actually, it was Ty that was asking me that, my middle son.
Okay.
And but both of them are in the same situation where, you know, Nick's been sailing Etchells, and he's like, you know, much sailing as he's done and as talented as he is, an Etchells 22 at 33 feet long is the biggest boat that he's been on, other than the IC 37. Mm-hmm. And you know, those 2 boats are not exactly what you would call you know, big offshore powerhouses where you learn about the big equipment. And so, you know, I mean, it takes time, and you got to get in there. We've all been through it. We all, you know, spent our time on 26 footers and then 30s and then 35s and got slowly to the bigger boats. But these big teams now are hiring younger and younger people to be involved on the America's Cup side, especially because it's so athletic and so intense. You know, so there's potentially there's quite a big limit now to the length of your career in the America's Cup. And, you know, we got to just watch and make sure that we don't squelch the enthusiasm for young sailors to have a chance.
All right. Well, speaking of, just to keep it short, that J70 regatta, that was your first time back in the hot seat. So how did it go for you?
Yeah, we had a lot of fun. It's actually my first J70 regatta ever. So that was pretty you know, first time sailing in a real J70 fleet as opposed to just our club fleet. So it was good fun. We ended up finishing fourth, which was, reasonable. We had 20 boats on the line and it was okay. But the part that was fun was that we lost a tiebreaker for third,
Ah,
and we finished 1 point out of second. So, it was really good racing, really tight. And I would say that I was probably the reason that we didn't get second or better, because the first day I was hesitant on a couple of tight situations, and we ended up just being a little bit, outside the place that we needed to be. So a point or two on that first day on Saturday would have made a lot of difference. But great fun, and really, really an exciting moment to be able to go sail with my son Ty in a race for the first time.
So were you forward in the boat, or were you middle doing tactics?
No, come on, really, you have to ask that. Forward, up in the front part of the boat, it was wet.
he's the helmsman.
No, I couldn't do that. No, I was doing the main sheet and trying to look around the course and
Okay,
see what's going on. So I was learning how to make the boat go fast and try to play the game as well. It was great fun. We had 3 days of racing, Friday, Saturday, Sunday at Davis. We had, I think probably the top end breeze might have been 22 or 3, and the bottom end breeze was maybe 5 or 6. And it was shifty and a little different each day. It was really a fun weekend. So
Chris Snow here has been studying these 70s now for years. So if you had to, boat speed wise and setup, if you have to ask Chris a question after your weekend, what would it be?
Well, my biggest question, which is probably not to Chris, it's probably more going to be to the Johnstone family, is why in the world is there a giant winch right where the main sheet?
Oh, see, Ed and Chris, they dealt with this. See, he's late to the table.
The whole world is asking that question. It's in exactly the wrong spot.
Well, it's in exactly the wrong spot, and it's also they put a cover over it because you're never going to use it. So
yeah.
It's really.
I'm sure you have a few bruises.
Yeah,
Take it off.
Yeah,
you're not allowed to.
Not allowed to take it off.
Yep, you could just put a big pad around it and deal with it. That's kind of what you can do.
Yeah.
No, but it was, it was really, like I say, it was a great, pleasant experience to be with the group that was sailing J70s. There were some sailors from a couple of other countries that were there, as well as all over the U.S. There was a lot of discussion about the Worlds, which is coming up out Chris's way this summer. And a lot of people making plans for that, and just a bunch of good teams that have been together for quite a while, and they're working hard at this, and they were loving the sailing in the middle of the winter, while they're calling their friends back home who were shoveling snow and scraping ice.
So did you earn yourself a spot for the Worlds, or are they still trying you out?
No, I'm fully, I was just tagged in to take Nick's place for one weekend. This team's not going to go to the Worlds, but many of the teams that were there this weekend are planning that. So sounds like the class is very enthusiastic and is going the right direction.
Nice. All right, Chris, final question. Then speaking of the Worlds, you were up training, you said, in Alamitos, where it will be, and what is kind of the feel up there with this? It'd be kind of the first major world championship of the year, I guess, here in the U.S.
Yeah, it's going to be in early August. I think the second week in August, and it's in Marina del Rey, which, so this past weekend we had 14 boats sailing. It wasn't an official regatta because the yacht club I'm not sure exactly, but they're not allowed to run an official event up in LA. But 14 boats, it reminded me of sailing in Annapolis in the summer, I have to say. It was light and extremely choppy. Lots of power.
Really? Yeah, I've never seen like that on the Chesapeake.
Exactly. So those who are coming for the Worlds, get geared up for light air and choppy conditions. And but yeah, everybody's anticipating a good regatta. I think the reality is the international competition will be a little bit thin, but like Ed is saying, there's a lot of U.S. teams that are really excited about getting out here, and then actually the North Americans for the J70s is going to be in Annapolis in May, and I think they have 70 boats signed up for that. So that's pretty cool. That'll be
And there'll be good wind and not so much chop in May.
right. Promise.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Excellent. All right, fellas. Thanks. And Roger, last question for you then. What book are you working on? What's next for the library?
Well, I don't know. I hate to say this, but I've just finished a novel.
Oh boy, a romance novel.
It's set in the ocean race.
Excellent. All right. What's the title? Can you sneak it to us, or you haven't come up with that yet?
No, it's just a working title so far.
Okay.
But
All right,
but it's probably a couple of months away.
okay. Is there like some strapping young captain named Gary, and that's what you? So he's there
No.
for character
No,
development. Is that why you guys are together?
It's a strapping young man named Andy who's in deep trouble.
Oh boy, that sounds like it'd be Gary. All right.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, it's good to
Great.
catch up. Good luck with the
Look
book.
forward to the next one. Thank you very much.
Thank
For
you.
having me.
But we'll see you in St. Pete, Ed. Come on down to the New Regatta. We'll come play with you in your neck of the woods. Looking forward to it.
Sounds
Okay.
good. Thanks
See ya.
very much, guys. See ya.
All right. See you. Have a great day.